Never watched so much news as I have during this pandemic.
Here at Beans.
Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by here at Beans. My name is Josh, and this is Dying on the Inside. The year continues and the pendulum's starting to swing back our way as Biden gets voted into office and kids keep turning in their parents on TikTok for breaking into the Capitol. What an amazing and horrible thing to have happen to your family. Like, I love seeing these people getting prosecuted for breaking into the Capitol, but let's be real, nobody likes a snitch. Just ask 6ix9ine. And the year continues to get better as ex-VP Mike Pence flew home in coach. Not the brand, the section. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. But let's get back to the good people who use TikTok for things like fun and joy. So this week I sat down with Portland writer and comedian Jake Breslauer. I met Jake while hitting up the open mics, and he quickly became one of my favorites. He's got a great take on life, and he has this ability to get his thoughts down extremely clear. So sit back and enjoy Dying on the Inside. I guess this year's been so different than anything else, anything you could have planned for. What was January 2020 looking to be like for you?
January 2020 was looking pretty dope. Because I was finally getting like some smaller road gigs. Finally got to do like my 30-minute sets on a semi-regular basis. Like, it was looking good, and I was feeling really good about it. I was working as a catering event manager, so I was able to like pick and choose my hours between that and touring. So 2020 started off great, but that only lasted about 2 weeks. Yeah.
Were there any festivals you were gonna like looking out for or excited for putting into?
I had no festivals like fully planned out, but it's definitely on my radar. Since I just done my first like 30-minute sets, I was finally feeling confident enough to like actually apply to these festivals and be like, hey, like I've done the 30 minutes and I'm actually like semi on the road. So I finally felt a little more confident to actually apply for festivals in like the, I don't know, 5 or 6 years I've been doing stand-up. Like,
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, that's a great way to look at it though, because I had done my first festival ever right before COVID happened.
mm-hmm.
But it was that feeling of, oh, I was the low man there. Like, the other people at the festival were all touring people. They were hosting all these shows, running all these things. Like, I had just gotten 30 minutes, I could ramble, I can make it work, but I was just a dude. It's like, oh, you guys actually run things.
Nothing will really make you feel like you're not a comedian as to go into a comedy festival. Because I did a small one in San Francisco back in like 2016 when I first moved to Portland. And I was feeling pretty cocky. And then I got to San Francisco and just saw all the other guys are on the show. And like, oh yeah, like I'm just stopping by before I go like open for like Adam Carolla for like a weekend and like all this stuff. And they're like, what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm a barista. That's about it. So yeah, I think that definitely, like, the first time actually performing in the festival, I was like, oh, I got to step this up, which for me meant just doing more mics, just kind of, yeah, like stepping back a little bit and actually taking the time to build a 30-minute set, which took me a couple of years. Like, it took a while.
I feel like, too, in building the 30 minutes, you feel like there were probably spots ahead where you felt like you had 30 because you had a bit that you thought was great until, the next week happened and it just wasn't there anymore.
Oh, that's happened so many times.
Dude.
My first time doing a 30-minute set, like I was super confident. I'd done it before, and then I actually went to go do it on the road, and it was maybe 15 minutes. And I tested it at 30 because nobody laughed. And like that, like when nobody likes your set, like a 30-minute set can become a deafening 15 really quick.
So as the coronavirus first came into the news, what was your first reaction to this? Did you take it seriously?
I took it pretty seriously from the get-go because like 3 days after Corona came to Oregon, I got incredibly sick. Like I had a 103-degree fever for like over a week, and like had to go to the hospital and everything. And they never were able to test me for Corona because it was too early on. But definitely after that, I'm like, I never ever want to be this sick again. And, and also, I don't know. I don't feel like a lot was being asked of us at first. And I think that's been my biggest disappointment about this whole thing. It's like, we were told like, hey, for a couple weeks, a month, stay at home, wear a mask. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the outbreak in this country has just been due to ignorance, unfortunately. And like a lot of the people who are affected are the people who are being smart and safe. But unfortunately, we have this huge sect of our population that just didn't want to take it seriously and just didn't believe in it. And they're like, I don't need to wear a mask. I'm like, I don't care if you don't, but the person making your coffee does. Like, and the person who's in the grocery store, like, they don't want to get sick. And I think, yeah. So that's just what's annoyed me the most.
Mm-hmm. That's something that shocked me was how little was being asked.
Yeah.
The mask is not much. I get it. It's annoying from time to time. It gets a little itchy with the beard. Sure. But it doesn't end your day,
I mean, if I'm hungover and wearing a mask, it sucks. But, and yeah, that's what just really baffles me. Like, yeah, they weren't asking much. I mean, like, it would have been a lot easier if we would have had a little bit of more government funding to stay at home. Like, like every other country, like I think like France is giving their citizens so much money just to stay at home this entire time, and it's laughable, like $1,200 for a year. I'm like, come on, dude.
Well, the other one, what, Canada's $2,000 a month?
Yeah,
taking care of their people.
Yeah,
getting through this, they're able to do more things than we're able to do because of it.
Well, they're also less idiots up there. It's sickening to me. Like, someone gave me a statistic that, like, I don't know how true this was, but I believed it anyways. Like that, like Jeff Bezos could give each one of his Amazon employees like $100,000 bonus and be just as rich as he was at the beginning of the pandemic. And that, he doesn't have an obligation to give away his money, but I'm like, dude, if you had that much money and had the ability to give like a tiny fraction of it away and be a hero and still be the richest man in America, but you won't do it because you're that big of a dick, like that baffles me.
That is, like, you would think they would be better supervillains than what Bezos is. If he knew, he donates to the people fall for him. That's what Lex Luthor did. That's why he was so successful. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, like our Lex Luthor is the dude who designed a book website. It's like, that's lame.
Well, I mean, look at who we were using for Superman with that orange hair. So.
Oh. Yeah. That's the one thing. I've never watched so much news as I have during this pandemic. Right. It's just morning, day, and night for me. Like, I'm addicted to the news. Like, I can't stop. Like,
has politics played now a big part of your life with the pandemic mixing in with this election?
100%. Because I've always been pretty politically involved. Like, I like to keep myself up to date, but I've always been pretty surface level on it. And now it's just like I don't know how, you couldn't just constantly watch what's going on. And I think, God, get out of here, cat. Yeah. So I think, yeah, it's become less of like me trying to be informed, like more of like an addiction, because I feel like, if you blink in the news, you miss like a major world event every 12 seconds.
It makes that like always checking Twitter thing feel not as bad, because at least you can say, well, I'm also staying up on current events. Like,
right? Oh, I did. I'd say honestly, though, the Twitter account I followed the most was Donald Trump's. Because it was just, oh God, like, have you ever seen one of your friends blackout drunk, like just get rejected at a bar and just go on freaking Twitter tirade. Like that's what it felt like every day. It was just a drunk friend.
That's what I enjoyed was he was like, I think we all have people on Facebook or whatever that we're friends with and we watch because of what a train wreck things have happened for him. Whether it be somebody from your high school and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to him. And this was one we got to share together as a world, you know? We all got to watch this train wreck.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh. I think that's the only reason I'm bombed these off Twitter. Is I'm like, what am I going to do with like half of my day now? I will say that I recently stopped going on Facebook as much, and that was a huge relief for me because it was depressing to see how many people I know were actually pieces of shit. Mm-hmm. I think that was one of the most depressing things. Like, oh, my buddy in high school is a QAnon supporter. Awesome. Like, did not see that one coming.
Were you affected, I guess, by the protests at all, being here in Portland?
Yeah. We got to see a lot of the protesting firsthand because we lived like right in downtown Portland. Ted Wheeler was like around the same block as we were in. So we saw a lot of the protests. We went to a couple of the protests. Just, I feel like it's important to show our support. And yeah, I'm all for the protest, 100%. I've never 100% like fully understood like the looting and the destruction part, but if people say that's what they need, that's what they need. I don't feel like it's in my power to question how people want to express how they're hurting. And I think that's a lot of like people just aren't really getting that. It's like people are like, why do they have to do this? Why do they have to do that? And I'm like, well, you're white. You've never really understood what they're going through. So just kind of let them do what they need to do to express their anger, their frustration, and get stuff moving. So So we saw it every night. We saw the protests, the fireworks, everything going off. And
oh man, that was one part I was hearing from people who live downtown was it would sound like a war zone from what I was hearing. It's like, that's got to be such a different experience. You're used to drunks yelling, sure, but now all these sober people on the road.
Yeah, it was literally war zone. That's the best way to put it. That's definitely the way that my wife described it. It was just like every night, it's like we go to bed, just literal explosions outside. And then there was one day, I was still working at the time, and I started work at like 5 a.m. So I'm leaving our apartment complex, and on both sides of the roads, the protesters had set up barricades. So no one could get through on either side of the road. Luckily, they were cool with me going through, but yeah. And yeah, like that part got a little intense and a little scary, but also, I know what these people stand for, and I know what they're fighting for. And like, I was never really afraid of them. Like I was afraid of like the Proud Boys that are coming in. Like I was afraid of the white guys. Those are the guys that scare the shit out of me.
Dude. Yeah. Yeah. They're the dangerous, violent ones, apparently. I mean, watching everything, and it's like, I don't know. It's one of those things where seeing those places get locked down and the block shut down, it's like, whoa, that is intense. But at the same time, it's like, that's also for safety of these white guys coming at them.
Oh,
like, this is what they have to. They don't have a choice now. They got you cornered. Build up the barricades. It's nice that they were cool to you.
Yeah, no, they're good to us. But yeah, I think that's man. Just watching all the stuff at the Capitol, I think like one of the Capitol Police was talking about like how literally he got beaten with a Blue Lives Matters flag, and like all these. I just don't think they were expecting that to go the way it did. Because, he got a bunch of guys with Blue Lives Matters flags, like all that crap. I'm like, well, they are probably going to respect the Capitol, which that going completely shit up. But but also, like, I don't know, like, how can anyone be surprised, though? That's what they've been calling for. They've been calling for, to storm the Capitol. They've been calling for all this stuff. And I think if one thing that, President Trump was true to is sticking to his word. even though his word was scary and awful, like he did all the terrible stuff he said he was going to do. So we're taking him a little more seriously.
And as we approach the inauguration or the coming of the switching of the guard, are you worried about anything happening on that?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely scared. Like, I really, really want to believe that nothing's going to happen. I think the thing that scares me is like after the inauguration, because there's over like little under half this country voted for him, and you saw all the people out there trying to take down the government, and these people just aren't going away. They've never gone away. They've been here since the start of the country. So I just hope, I hope we take, labeling them as domestic terrorists seriously. And I hope
absolutely,
not just cracking down, but some sort of educational reform, for those types of people, just something to educate them, let them know like, hey, this country wasn't stolen. I don't know. I'm not a politician, but it just,
right.
Yeah, something to prevent this from happening in the future, because this just can't keep happening. It's been happening for hundreds of years, and we've done nothing about it. And like, it sucks that this is finally the wake up call. But
it's crazy to think so. He'll leave office as the with the lowest approval rating at 41%. That still means there's 41% out there in favor of what he's doing, and it's insane that after everything there's still that large of a number,
and not just in the general public, but also like in the Senate, in like the House. Like there's still people who support Trump. There's still freaking QAnon supporters in the I think it's like two Republican, I don't remember if they're senators or what, but like two Republican members that are in Congress are full on QAnon believers. And that's scary.
Yeah. And now that the shaman is getting all mad because he's not getting let out of jail.
I'm sorry. That dude, I'm expecting like that to be like next year's hot Halloween costume.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think his mom was like calling for them to bring in like vegetarian food to him.
Uh-huh.
I was
all organic.
Yeah, I was talking to my mom on the phone about that, and I was like, and my mom's like, I can't believe that. I'm like, oh, Mom, you probably do the same thing for me, right? Because no, I'd come down and kick your ass. I'm like, I love that.
What has work been like through the pandemic?
Beginning of the pandemic, first 2 weeks, I lost my job. Because I was an event coordinator and events went away. So lost my job. Because at the time between like event coordination and comedy, my pay was so inconsistent. So I decided not to really mess around with unemployment, and I just went on Postmates. And I started doing courier work. I got a job at a bakery. I actually walked out on that job. First time in my life I ever walked out on a job. Which I'm not going to go into detail, but that tells you about how terrible the job was. So I walked out during the pandemic. But no, I think the one thing this pandemic has done is really encouraged me to find like how to find money in untraditional ways. And I've been enjoying courier work. It pays decent. Also give me the time, like go back to school and just kind of really map out my life post pandemic. Yeah. So a little more drive than I like to do, but at least we're not totally financially sinking, which feels like a good place to be.
Right. Yeah. That's a huge thing right now is just if you can stay afloat and get through this, it sounds weird, but things are going to come back. We are going to get a bit of normalcy back. Stay afloat now as best you can and then keep going.
Exactly. I've stopped trying to put a time frame on when things are going to go back to normal, because I know like at the beginning of the pandemic, I'm like, another month, another 2 months. And that was kind of my mentality. And then once I was just like, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't know what's going to go back to normal. So I'm just going to settle into the new normal for as long as I can. And that's going to help me keep my sanity a little bit, just so I'm not kind of looking towards a light at the end of the tunnel that I don't know when it's going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my hard part in the beginning, was I kept thinking that light was there, and it took me a few months to realize, no, just get rid of the light as you go. I kept going in these phases of run, stop, run, stop. And once the acceptance of this is for a long haul.
Yeah.
Ride it out.
Because I know now they're saying like summer, but I'm just like, again, I'm like, I'm putting that date out of my head. I'm like, when it's good, it's good. And I just, for the time being, I'm on a good path, so I'm just going to stick on that and just not try to look for something that may not happen for a while.
Through this, you've been doing some more writing. And I will say some of your writing has helped me, because I hated seeing all the food you were posting on Facebook, wondering how the hell this guy can cook like this. Then I read some of the writing and I figured it out. But how's the writing been going for you during the quarantine time?
Oh, slow. It's been, I think really the hardest thing for me has been self-motivation. And I'd say like a few months ago, I kind of started to hit my stride a little bit. And I know like post-pandemic, I just want to go into a writing career. That's something I've played with a little bit. I've written for some publications, but definitely, after my last failed restaurant job, I'm like, I'm just kind of done with the service industry. And so really buckling down, taking at least an hour every day to write, but I also don't do that every day. So it's really the discipline for me is the hard thing. And, especially, being working from home, where I'm trying to write something and my Xbox is 2 feet away. Like, that's really hard. But yeah, I definitely taking the online courses has helped. So, I designate myself like an hour for online courses during the day, designate an hour of writing. And I try right now, I just started a new weekly blog. I'm trying to every day or once a week, I have to post. I have to post. I don't care. Like if I think it's good, I don't care if other people are going to think it's good. It's kind of like that open mic mentality of like, just get it out of your body, get it out in the public. And if it works, it works. Great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And, just go back to the drawing board. But just trying to cut out that inner monologue of like, this isn't good enough, or you're not good enough. So yeah, just kind of that. I'm using the internet as my open mic now, which
I've been feeling that, because I've been like, this has helped me knowing that like I like to post on this day. And so you got to get these things done and you got to go in this order. It adds that force to it. Before, when I was just doing TikTok videos or whatever, it was like, you throw one up because you're bored and you did it. Now that was funny. And then like a week later, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I was doing TikToks.
Yeah, I still I put in my calendar, like post a TikTok, and it was like every day I'm going to post a TikTok. I've posted like 3 since I did that. Because, oh man, TikTok's a hard one. I put in like an hour's worth on a video, gets like 50 likes, and then a 15-year-old does a twerking video, gets 1.7 million. I'm like, I don't care. Like,
I started realizing like I'm not on TikTok to see the type of videos I would put out there. Mm-hmm. I'm more on there for people slipping on ice. Yeah. I really like those, the ring cameras where people fart after they think no one's going to see them. Hilarious.
Yeah.
None of my videos hit those. I just realized that no, the ones I really enjoy are the stupid stuff that I would never think to post or get blessed enough. I've had a ring cam for 2 years and I've never had a mailman fall.
Yeah. Oh, postal workers. It's so true. Like I try to think of all these clever things, and I actually have some friends who are doing pretty decent on TikTok, and their whole thing is like they just post constantly. Like they post, and I think during this pandemic, like people just want to see other people, and they don't want to. Yeah, like they want to go online and just see like silly shit. Like we don't. especially TikTok. Like I turn off my brain. Like, you know, if I come across someone doing a huge lecture, I'm like, not right now. Like this is this is 10 o'clock at night. I'm stoned. I just want to do some. Yeah, I want to see some farts and ice falls. That's it.
I think that was my biggest disappointment of January 6th was that when I went to go to my release of TikTok, there was already capital stuff up there. And there was, no TikTok, no. That's for Facebook and Instagram. Let me just have stupid things over here.
Yep.
Is there anything that you've watched during this quarantine that you believe you wouldn't have watched had you not been in a pandemic?
An insane amount of rom-coms. I have watched an insane amount of rom-coms because Amanda had me watch one, and it's never really been my deal. I'm more of like a horror fan. And then I started watching rom-coms, and they make you feel good and happy inside, even though you know most of them are trash. It's yeah, like weirdly enough, that's the biggest change. Like, yeah, I'll turn on a rom-com if I'm bored. Fuck it, who's got mail? Like, you've got mail. God, I sound old.
I say, what's the favorite rom-com that you found during this?
The Holiday.
Oh, that's a good one.
The Holiday. I actually wrote a review for it for my friend's magazine. I wrote a review about The Holiday.
Nice.
It was perfection. And I was so against it because what's that actress's name? Emma. She's Julia Roberts. I think it's Emma Roberts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to despise Emma Roberts because I feel like she ruined American Horror Story. No. Holiday brought me back some faith in her.
Nice. So I think it's funny. We're kind of reversed. I've watched more horror during the pandemic that I wouldn't normally. Rom-coms are my game. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is amazing.
I haven't seen that one yet. That's next to my list.
I know The Office being on Netflix and then getting taken off was a big deal because people have that comfort go-to show. Mm-hmm. Have you had a comfort go-to show to the pandemic?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was bummed The Office went off, but I'd also already watched it like about 20 times. I'd say my biggest one is Rediscovering the Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
Because for me, like, you know, growing up in like the, 90s, early 2000s, like that was like Sunday night was when me and my dad would watch, like, I think they used to call it like Animation Domination, which was like Simpsons, Family Guy, American Dad. Like me and my dad would watch that every Sunday. So just going back to those shows, like that's been a big one for me, especially now that Disney, thank God for Disney Plus.
Oh,
wow. They just brought back all the good ones.
Yeah, that's been the greatest thing with my kid is being able to show her like the old Chip and Dale or Tailspin that I used to watch. Now she gets to enjoy it, and she kind of enjoys it. She just tolerates it because I'm into it. But
yeah, what's it like for like a? Because like those are groundbreaking to me as a kid. Like what stuff does your kid watch? Like, if it's not.
Oh man. Nothing like that now. Like the animation has changed. The Japanimation stuff is like kind of what a lot of the cartoons have taken over, except for Trolls. Trolls is unstoppable. That's anytime something new of that comes out, that's like stop everything. We're watching that.
Is it watchable as an adult or?
Trolls is, yeah, actually. Okay. The music's good. I enjoy that. The story's good. Even the TV show, like the story of it is good. The worst thing we found was the show called The Worst Witch on Netflix. And it starred the little girl from Game of Thrones that was like the badass queen that was like 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. She plays, it's a Harry Potter knockoff TV show. It's horrible. But for the past 3 months, my kids wanted to be a witch because that's become her favorite show. And that's rough. Every time too, you're like, better on Harry Potter. What are they doing over here?
Oh, that's yeah. I don't have kids, so I haven't had to be subjected to the new stuff. But I've heard from my sister, my niece, my nephew. She goes like, she goes those new Netflix kid shows. She goes, I can't do it. She's like, they're just terrible.
They had a good one there for a minute where it was called Bow on the Go, but it made kids like run and do things while they were watching. So that one I was on board with, and then they just stopped making new episodes out of nowhere. And I don't know, I can't figure out when new ones are going to come on, but I'm missing out on that time because that got my kid to run and get out some of that energy. So since we can't go outside if it's freezing cold or raining.
No, I can't. Oh man, I can't imagine being a kid locked down right now.
That's the weird part. Like, we had just shown her things like the public pool the summer before. And so she was so excited knowing summertime, we get to go to the pool. And then it's like, hey, no, pool's closed. And it's in the neighborhood. We drive by it. So she keeps seeing it. And it's like, oh, it's been weird. It made me have to be way more creative. And more willing to play Tea Party.
Nice. No, I know, like, my niece and nephew, they've definitely. It's weird because like they've adapted to it really well. How old's your kid? Like
5.
Yeah, my niece and nephew are. Like 3 and 5, maybe 4 and 6 now. I'm bad. I know they're talking to like my grandmother, and she goes, "Oh, you guys can come visit me." And my nephew was like, "Not until COVID's over, Grammy." So I know they've adapted to it pretty well, but I know like they got birthdays coming up, and that's just got to be a bummer as a kid. Like, can't see your friends on your birthday, and. That's just got to be heartbreaking as a parent. Like,
that one's a hard one. My kid's birthday is in 2 months, and it's like, there's no kids to play with, and so I'm like trying to make I put my projector up to do like a movie theater day.
Nice
to watch like it's almost a theater, because you can't go anywhere. There's no Chuck E. Cheese. There's no any of that stuff. It's hard. My kid, what she talks about the most that she misses from school is the cafeteria. And that is just being able to sit and hang out with her friends. And like school, she's fine. She enjoys doing it on the tablet. But lunch, she just wishes she could sit there. And it's like, so heartbreaking to hear. And it's like, not this year,
And that was the most trouble I ever got into my life was lunchtime cafeteria.
So through this year, we've been through so much. What would you say would be the hardest thing that you've gone through in this year?
I was thinking about this earlier too, and it's a tricky question to answer. Because for me, I do feel this last year for me personally, I do feel fortunate. Just because I have a house, I have a car, like. Stuff isn't terrible for me. I think the hardest part is, we do live like near like a lot of like houseless encampments. And I think just hearing those stories has been the hardest thing for me, because last year was going to be so many people a year, and so many of these people, who are finally getting into like permanent housing, working their, been working their asses off just to get in a better situation. They're now back to living on a bridge. And I think that's, especially in my side of town, has been the hardest thing to watch, which is just these homeless encampments just grow and grow and grow and grow. And it just sucks because these people literally have no other choice. And I think that's really been the hardest thing for me is just seeing our government not only fail themselves, but just fail their citizens. And and that's been my biggest depression this year is just how much realizing that our government truly does not give two shits about a citizen. And I think that's the hardest thing for me. And that's been a huge awakening for me in just so many different ways. It's like, just how many people in this country are just screwed right now. And how we keep saying that like, oh, well, once you can get back to work, it's going to get so much better. I'm like, no, like for a lot of these people, it's not, because, that money, that unemployment that everyone's giving people, now they have to pay back. There's people, who got like $10,000 again in the pandemic and didn't know they'd have to pay that back. And so there's someone making, like 25 grand a year who finally got some financial help, and now they have to pay it back to someone making like $30 million a year. And I think that for me has been like the hardest thing that I don't know. Yeah, I've probably just always been naive to. And I guess I've never really given much thought to. It's like, wow, like we're really kind of on our own here. And government just doesn't give two craps about its citizens, and just watch 400,000 people die just like that. So I think that's easily been the hardest part for me.
That's been a huge eye-opening thing during this, is how many people we thought were there to help us, or to, I don't want to say protect, but to at least point us in the right direction. And then we find out that, de Blasio still got to go to the gym because he has to exercise so he can be ready. Learning I felt so naive. When you use that word, I was like, oh, that hit, because it was like, oh, and I'm doing that so much more often that I'm getting tired of doing that now.
Yeah, I think that's just a big thing. Like, just like naive. I just didn't realize how naive I was. Like, especially, going in downtown Portland, seeing the protest. And, we were downtown, and I think we had the 8:00 curfew. No one is being violent. Somebody threw a water bottle at the building. And the second someone threw a water bottle, tear gas everywhere. Tear gas, rubber bullets. Like, we got tear gassed. And, and then you look at, a bunch of white people storming the Capitol, and they're like leaning them down the Capitol, holding their hand. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, that's just vile. So, yeah, I think that's really been a lot of this year. And I do feel a little bad. I'm like, I feel like I should have been more aware of this earlier on. And, I think that this year has just really exposed how much this country still has to do.
I think some of that, too, is just like as we progress in life, or as we grow up, there's certain things through this pandemic that have forced or allowed us to maybe grow at a faster rate in some things. Where before, because open mics or the bar would take up some of the political reading, that time now isn't there. And so now I get to read articles, and I don't just read headlines. So I feel like, things I would be doing 10 years later, I'm now doing now, because I've been able to, I guess, grow or learn through this time so much more than I would have if we were still running.
Oh, 100%. I think that's right. I think that's exactly right. Like, yeah, we do have a lot more time. If I'm sitting around, like, it's like there's no excuse for me not to read. There's no excuse for me not to be more informed. And yeah, I think, I do try to think about like what I'm going to take away from this pandemic and like the positive aspects. And that's definitely one of them is, I do like, kind of beat myself down. So I'm like, I was very blasé to this whole situation. I feel like for years, even when I thought I was being informed. And now I'm like, no, like there was a lot of stuff that I don't know if maybe I was choosing not to see, or just really not taking the time to study. And so I think moving forward, we can't get to this point again. So I feel like it's really on all of us just to continue to be more and more informed, and also more active in local government, and just, ask for what we need as citizens.
This has been a hard year for a lot of people. What's been the best thing that's come out of it for you? That, hey, at least this happened.
I'd say the best thing is self-motivation. Because definitely first couple months, maybe like first like 3 months of the pandemic, it was just like, oh, it's just, lay around on the couch with a bottle of wine and Cheez-Its. And and then I think once I realized how long I was just going to be doing this, I really forced myself to, make my own money, start really thinking about more career options, how I can get farther ahead of my career. It's really forced me to be more proactive. And that's just something I'm just definitely going to take beyond this pandemic.
That's been huge. A lot of people have been able to try and bet on themselves in this time, because now we can have the time to learn how to bet on ourselves better or maneuver through. And I feel like there is going to be that change where there's certain things in, in all types of writing and in comedy, and the middleman is getting removed more and more.
Yeah.
Because we can do this on our own. We don't need, a bar to say, yeah, go ahead. This we can put out. YouTube doesn't say no to this. There's no conspiracy theory, so we're okay.
No, that's definitely been like my new mantra, which is like I'm the only person who can get in my way. And I think that's definitely like something I've seen in myself like every day. It's like if I, wake up and I don't exercise and I don't make breakfast at the time I do, I don't start working. Like if I have days like that, I now feel like crap. As to before, like I could always justify it with like, well, I'm going to go to a mic later, or, I got shows coming up or something like that. And now I'm like, hey, if I sit around and do nothing all day, that is a day of just literal nothing. Nothing looking forward. So if I keep doing more and more and more days of nothing, that's what's going to come out of this. It's nothing. And I think definitely, it's made me realize I might have wasted a lot more time than I thought I did before this. So definitely.
It's easier to get used to doing nothing than it is to get used to doing something.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
that's what makes it so hard, is because one little cheat day of nothing becomes 3 all of a sudden, and then now you've lost track of what you were doing, and then so we got to try and just keep focused on those little step by steps.
Exactly, because I would love to do nothing. That'd be perfect. And and yeah, no one can deny that doing nothing is great, but only for a certain amount of time.
Don't like using post-pandemic thoughts, but what's the future? You said writing. What kind of writing are you talking about? You thinking, I don't know, newspapers, or I guess newspapers are dying, but I still read them.
Kind of the world what we kind of going to school for a little bit right now. I definitely want to go into, start off with copywriting, go into company blogging, just something where I'm actually sitting down and writing every day. So eventually I do want to go into, writing for publications, which I've done before. And I did it as like a blogger. That's definitely something eventually I want to do as like for like a real publication, a real newspaper. Like that's the direction I want to head towards. But definitely, starting off with a little bit of copywriting here and there, a little bit of blogging. So I'm just I'm letting myself start slow. Because like the ambition's big, but also the knowledge is kind of small. So just kind of really easing myself into it. And yeah, just I think just I've accepted the fact that it might take a little while. And like I accepted the fact this pandemic's going to take a long time. So yeah, so just really got into the routine of like I'm driving for Postmates for the next year, realistically. Well, I just figure out the next step and just really. I do have a habit of like backtracking, like it's so easy to go back into the job that I had, which was like restaurant management and chef, but I just wasn't exactly happy or I wanted to be there. So yeah, just taking that time.
You gonna keep doing comedy or stand up?
Oh yeah. I can't give that up. That's a drug. But yeah, it's always still going to keep doing stand up, but definitely, taking a little bit more of a step back from stand-up. Like it's always going to be there. It's always going to be my love. It's always going to be my passion. But I know that like my place is definitely behind with like a pen and paper. That's always been where I'm the happiest. Never going to stop comedy, but definitely going to stop with the idea that I'm going to have a Netflix special one day. Like I don't think that's my career moving forward. Like I see myself having a book more than I do a comedy special. So.
Well, what kind of plugs do you want? Where do you want me to send people?
Right now, I just started it a couple weeks ago. It's brand new, but I do have my new blog. Hold on, let me bring up. Oh geez, let me bring up all my information for that. Yeah, my new blog, which I forgot the name of. My new blog is called "Leaving the Kitchen: A Forced Exit from the Food Industry." Basically about basically like journal yeah, journaling, my exit from the food industry, full time into the writing world. So.
Well, nice, man. Yeah, I look forward to reading those. That first one was great. I did read that one. That was solid, man. I was like, oh, goddamn.
Okay.
Practice. Well, man, I appreciate it. Again, thank you. And hopefully soon we'll be able to get back to doing mics or something. I don't know. I don't know if you do any of those Zoom shows at all, but
No, I watch them, but I don't know if I have a face for Zoom. We'll see.
Thank you for watching Dying on the Inside. Remember to follow our guest Jake Breslauer on Instagram at Jake Breslauer Live, on TikTok at Jake Breslauer, and on YouTube at Failed Expectations. Also, check out his blog Leaving the Kitchen at Jake Breslauer Writes on Tumblr.